For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. There is a lot going on today, let me tell you. In case you haven't heard, Canada is detaining its people when they return to the country. Now, this is apparently to deter them from traveling, right? The Canadian government can't stop Canadians from leaving the country, but they sure as hell can make it difficult for them to get back into their country. Bonnie Winters, our executive producer, will be joining shortly to talk about this. It is a controversial move. Now, it's sort of mirrored after some other countries and what they've done to, again, it's to prevent people. They want to make it undesirable to travel, but Canada has done it a little bit differently in regards to basically kidnapping people when they come back. Not kidding you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 1 minute in. I am not shitting you. People were taken in blacked out windowed vehicles to unnamed facilities and not allowed to use their phone or tell their family members where they were. Yes, I'm talking about Canada. Canada, yeah. Bonnie Winters will be joining us to talk about that. Also, I'm a stickler for spelling. I know there's a few people who share my grief on Twitter. I see you tweeting. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on proper spelling. Later, Big Brother Canada, the reality show that's a knockoff of all the other ones, is back on global TV. Host Arisa Cox is not back with us. And it's all because she was asked to dial a phone number. Really. All these stories are coming up on the show, and it starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Ladies and gentlemen, back by unpopular demand, Bonnie Winters is joining us to lend some insight. You know, it's The World According to Bonnie Winters. Maybe that's the show that we should launch after I'm off the radio, Bon. What do you think?
The World... Here, I produce your show now. Just watch yourself.
The World According to B-Dubs. You know, I see it happening. I see it happening. Bonnie Winters, we know that there have been travel bans in effect since this whole corona thing started. We're not having a debate about coronavirus. What we want to talk about, the federal government in Canada, for our friends in the United States listening to this, I talked about this on the show recently. The Canadian government is making people, and when I say making, I'm going to use the term mandate, detain people to stay in a hotel when they return back from Canada after traveling abroad. This is true, right, Bonnie?
That's right.
Okay, so I have no choice. I might live alone in a house. I'm by myself. The government is making me go to a hotel and making me pay the bill. You know, the dollar amount they've tagged on that is about $2,000. Now, that's an estimate depending on the hotel and the food you have to eat. I discussed this on the show the other week, Bon. You weren't here, but I want to get your opinion. As a law-abiding citizen who travels, I'm on the hook to pay for my, extended vacation when I get home. I could be traveling for work. I could have legitimate reason to travel, but I still must quarantine. I still must be locked up. I must be detained. What do you think, Bon? There's a parallel here, because if I break the law, if I go and commit a crime, I'm on the taxpayer's dime. I get shelter. Again, I'm not comparing a jail cell to a hotel suite. That's not the argument here. My point is that if I'm doing something illegal, the government pays my way. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, don't get me started, baby.
Go ahead.
Don't get me started.
We got time. We got time. You go. Let me pull the string and go, Bon. No, isn't that an interesting... That's an interesting... Is the word parallel, dichotomy, contradiction? What's the word here? I don't know. There you go. I traveled legally, but it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. I go and smash a car, stab somebody, shoot somebody, do something. I get thrown into jail. I get a place to stay. I get fed. So the government is funding criminals, but not somebody who legally traveled. Go ahead, Bon. Tell me your thoughts.
How about that? Yes, isn't that amazing? Not only that, I have seen on TV how there are people who have not even been told where they're being taken, what hotel they're being taken to. They can't even call their family. Their phone is taken away from them. And it just sounds bizarre. I don't understand it.
Now,
well, that's what you get, JB, for being a law-abiding citizen. But there is the odd person, if you come across the border by land, you can go home to self-isolate.
Right.
Right? Right.
Yes.
But if you fly in, it's as if, it's just another layer that they can place on you for, well, not really breaking the law, but they're making you feel like a prisoner, right? Well,
and I think that's the issue. Now, let's be clear on this, everybody. We're not saying that, travel should be discouraged. We're not saying that at all. Absolutely. We've been told for well over a year now, stay in place, don't go. We get it. Just like when I see those TV commercials reminding me to wash my hands. You know what? I've heard that enough already. If I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. I don't know that another TV commercial is going to make me change my mind. Nevertheless, I understand why the government is doing it. The government is because the Canadian government can't legally say you're not allowed to leave the country, and then it's also been challenged in court that they can't prevent you from leaving your home province or traveling anywhere within the country. Now again, that's going to court, so that could change. I understand that they're just trying to make it difficult for you. They're trying to make it as unappealing as possible to travel. I get it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I understand the purpose. But to then impose these fees, and then if you use that paralleled example of being a criminal, and they take care of you that way, I mean, then they should change the system altogether, and when you get out of prison, you're handed the bill for your stay and your food then.
Oh!
Well, I mean...
That's a good one. Wow.
Think about it.
I don't think anybody's ever thought of that one.
Well, I mean, but how often, I've got to travel to Los Angeles or whatever for work. I mean, media is an essential service. So technically, if I'm still legally allowed, and again, they can't prevent me, they can't stop me from doing it, but yet they can make me go to a hotel. Just as you say, Bon, if you're traveling across in a car, you're okay to just... Remember, it was the honor system as well when this whole thing first started, right? They had to ask you at the airport, are you showing any symptoms? Have you coughed in the last 6 months? And it's like, what? Why? Of course people are going to say no. Why would they go and say, yeah, I have? They're not going to... No, they're going to say what... Just like when people go through customs, you're going to give the most easygoing answers to not draw attention to yourself, not get crevice searched, not get, although sometimes a cavity search is okay, but, you're going to say what you need to get through the situation. No different than when you're stopped for speeding. You're going to give excuse to get out of it, but at the end of the day... And so it's very bizarre to me. Now, again, we're not using this platform to encourage people to commit a crime. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I don't know that the government thinks these things through, though. And I would love to see a reporter ask this during one of the press conferences. So let me just understand this correctly here. If you break the law, you're on the taxpayer and government's dime. But you legally travel, you got to fend for yourself. It's just a weird... Yeah, it's a weird contradiction. You agree?
It is, definitely. Yes, absolutely. And it's the fact, too, that everything's in secrecy, right? You don't know where you are. And you can't contact anyone. And you at least get a phone call, don't you, when you're put in jail? I don't know.
Well, you tell me, Bonnie. I mean, you're the one who did time at that Trump rally. But
you
that's
don't even get to make a phone call.
but you know what's interesting? I mean, I used the word sort of flippantly at the beginning. I said detained. I'm being detained when I get to my own country.
Yes, exactly. And they do, if you travel by car and you're isolating for 2 weeks at home, they do come and check on you every day. Make sure you're at home.
And what's interesting is that we heard the threat. We heard that the rule or the mandate, whatever we want to call it, law, was coming into effect, right? When the Prime Minister announced it. But we didn't have a date, though. It was almost just like it was put out there as a threat.
Yes, exactly.
And I've noticed, so now let's talk very quickly because we've got to go to a break again, but I've noticed that the tone has changed. At the beginning, remember Trudeau was just, our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for our American listeners, Trudeau was coming out at the beginning. It was almost like he was sympathetic. He was a concerned dad. He was, and then we kind of saw the screws tightening, even with our own provincial leader, right? Brian Pallister. It kind of came out, he came out at the beginning of, we're in this together. We've got to get through this, everybody. We're here for you. Now it's become an us, meaning the people, versus them, the politicians thing. I believe that the lines are drawn. So now we know how people are when you tell them they can or can't do something. They're going to thumb their nose and say, I'll do what I please, thank you. I'm wondering if the politicians sort of ease up and maybe change their tone with people, if we might see more people abiding by the rules as they're put forward. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, abiding by the rules, you can't police everybody. So how are you going to know?
I mean, it goes back to that whole honor system thing at the beginning, right? Americans were allowed because they answered a couple questions. Wow, that was all it took, was me just saying no, no, yes? Okay, done. Very quickly, they learned that wasn't a very good screening process. Yes,
exactly.
So,
and I mean, having someone come out and check on people every day, well, good. That's a good thing. I mean, you do want people to self-isolate if they've been away and keep the spread down and so on, and that's fine. But to police everybody, it's unfathomable.
We've talked about exceptions to the rule. So again, me being an essential traveler, essential worker, I mean, it's different. We could argue that we could say, oh, well, you know what, you taking a Mexican vacation is not necessarily travel. So then maybe you need to pay for your hotel stay, whether we're agreeing that that's the right method of keeping the transmission down or not. What I'm saying is, but if I'm coming back from Los Angeles, well, I'm going there for work. So now my work trip that's earning me money could be costing me more than doing the work.
Well, that's right. That's right.
So
there were people who were caught in that situation that came back from the U.S. They were there for work. And the next thing they knew, they were stuck in a hotel. And the work they did, well, they might as well have not bothered, because there went their paycheck out the door.
So what should happen? Should this be something that the government pays? Should they not make people go to a hotel and just, because it's been drama and controversy ever since it was first announced. I don't know that it's going to go. I'm sure lawyers are lining up to challenge this. I'm fairly certain.
Sure they are. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know that anything is going to. Oh, and then we also know that the government basically told the airlines, stop flying to the hotspots.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So here.
Well, really, I think it just boils down to, I mean, they started the honor system right from the get-go. And really, that's the only way to go. You can't go policing everybody and making it feel like a police state. And, I mean, it's impossible to police everybody, right?
Well, and I think what's interesting, though, is that, we actually had the discussion in our office, Bonnie, when it was announced that the Canadian Airlines were going to stop flying to the sun destinations. I don't remember who it was. It might have been you. Somebody piped up and said, but United Airlines is still going to fly to the States and to Mexico from here. So
yes,
who cares?
That's right.
So who cares that Air Canada and WestJet have stopped it? Then I'll just fly one of the American companies. Done.
Right.
And but I think that, but on the surface though, like if somebody like my parents were to hear that on the news, oh my God, the airlines aren't flying there, I'd quickly go and say, Yeah, you can still get to Mexico. It's not, yeah, no. So again, it's like you say, police state, they're bullying. There's, Air Canada, WestJet want money from the government, so of course they're going to bow down and do whatever Trudeau suggests. But yeah, the American airlines are still flying there. So if I want to go to Mexico, okay, I'm not using a Canadian company. I'll just use the American company. Done. So I don't know, like, you can, yeah, and then I'm going to be having a $2,000 bill to come back. But point is like, look, for our business, we produce travel programming where we go to Mexico.
Right.
So how do I need to prove that I was in Mexico for business? And am I still going to have to pay that fee? So yeah, I don't know that they are prepared for a lot of the questions they get from reporters after they just go and make this radical policy or movement or change law, mandate, whatever. Because then all of a sudden we see them stumbling. No different than when there was that essential products thing. I wasn't allowed to buy tape from a store, but I could buy fireworks.
Hey, that's important.
I couldn't. I could buy.
You got to have something pretty in your life when you're in.
I guess so. We talked about this. It was illegal for me to buy a fork or a spoon, but a hunting knife was okay. It was. Yeah, I don't know. Go figure. All right, so Bonnie, we've got to take a break. I'm sure you'll be joining us on the next episodes as we move ahead here. So thanks for chatting today.
Hey, good talking to you, JB.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. This wasn't a planned rant on the show today, but I just saw something on Facebook a few minutes ago. I've talked about this. I have no interest in social media. I spend maybe, this is not an exaggeration, I spend maybe 1 to 2 minutes, maybe even every other second day, not every day. I don't care what people are doing every minute of the day. Just as I don't think you should care what I'm doing every minute of the day. I'm just realistic like that, everybody. I don't think that my life is any better than yours, just as you shouldn't make me feel that your life is better than mine. We're all different. We all have different interests. We all like that. Anyway, so, and this rant isn't even about that. What I'm saying is I was just on Facebook a few moments ago. Now you're bombarded with ads when you scroll, which is also a reason why I don't care for it. And don't get me wrong. I'm in a business where ads, pay the bills, but I've always had the belief that I can't trust a restaurant that has typos on the menu. And again, I don't know if that's superficial. There's just something that always rubbed me the wrong. Like when I saw, there was a pizza restaurant back in the day, even I was a kid, I think. And I remember pointing out a spelling mistake. I think it was pepperoni. Now I'm sort of blanking on it, but I remember showing my mom, who's a teacher, or was a teacher. I just remember finding this. So as a kid, I see the typo. And who knows how many people had, proofread, typed, blah, 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 whatever, conceptualized the menu. If it's a restaurant where I'm the chef and it's my integrity and it's my whatever, damn right I'm going to look at that menu. And if the chef doesn't know how to spell pepperoni or cheese or, whatever the word might have been, I don't know that I trust you. And so what I'm getting at is that I just saw an ad on Facebook. Ironically, it was on Facebook. And the ad had the word Facebooks. Not as in like possessive, so not like apostrophe S. So we're not talking about Facebook's app. No. Just the word Facebooks. And so this was, the ad was for like a digital advertising agency kind of a thing. Like they'll do your Facebook's ads. What it said was, we'll do your Google, Instagram, and Facebook's ads. And it lost all credibility with me right away. It did. I was, as much as I was sort of tempted, I was reading the text, but it was the image, like it was the ad image that shows, that had the giant words, the headline, and it was wrong. So right away I was like, not clicking you, no, can't. You could be the most reputable company in the world. You lost me in that one word. One word, done. You lose credibility. Now, don't get me wrong. I realize that typos happen. I realize that, not everybody's perfect. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I'm hoping that if this is a company where it's, it's more than one person, you will have read it over, and then you've given it to somebody else to look over. And then your graphic designer looks it over. Now, I've worked with graphic designers before. A lot of them just put their heads down. You give them the copy, they churn out and design it, whatever. They're not looking at it. I've worked with other designers who question every single fucking word that you give them. Maddening. Not going on that rant. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is, you'd hope that somebody would notice something like that. Now, again, we're talking something like headline copy. Do you know what I mean? So there's just no excuse to something like that. And especially if you're doing marketing and you're helping people sell, I don't have the faith and trust that you'll be able to guide me in the right direction then. You're wanting me to come to you as the expert, and your expertise is social media platforms, yet you get one of their names wrong. Am I reading too much into it? Do you see what I'm getting at here? Same thing, again, going back to that restaurant thing. If you can't, if you misspell the word fish, no, tell me that I'm not being overly critical. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Hey, as a best-selling author, I can tell you my first book that I wrote, probably about 10 years ago now, my first book had a typo. Now, again, as an author, you read your stuff over and over and over and over again. But the problem as a writer is you see what it's meant to say. Right? Because I'm the one who wrote it. And because you've read it over and over again, your brain, I think, almost just starts to recite it because you've seen it so many times. And I'll never forget, it was a Saturday night. My brother texts me. I had given him my brother's not a reader either. My brother is not a reader. He is an educator. He works at a school, but he's not a reader. So the fact that he found a typo on page 80 and quoted it, sent me the text, and the sentence was that the shoe is on the other food, not foot, food. I was mortified. And the perfectionist that I am, the stickler, the one who's always pointing out everybody else's grammatical and typographical errors, initially I thought, oh shit, because I self-published the book. I had just ordered 80 copies of the book because I was doing a book launch. There was a book signing. You have this dilemma of, do I replace the 80 copies that are coming to me? Do I put in another order for 80? Even though, as far as I know, there's just one wrong word in the book. What would you do? I'm going to ask you this question. Send me an email. Again, live@jbonair.com. It's your book. It's your reputation. It's your first book, I should point out. You want to be an author. It's your first book. You're made aware of this. And it is your book. I'm not talking like it's published by Penguin, Random House, whatever. You are the publisher. You have every say. You have every control. You have every power in this book. Do you go and say, you know what? Screw it. It's my reputation on the line. If I've got to fork out however much to reprint those 80 books, I'm going to do it. Or you just leave it and go, you know what? It's one word. What are the odds that people are going to notice it? Because initially what I started to think was people know the phrase, the shoe is on the other. So what I initially thought was that people's brains will just auto-complete the sentence for them. Meaning they might skim the words, like they might glance over them, but they're not going to read the word food because they know that that's not the saying. So they might see, what I mean, see in quotation marks, see with their brain is the word foot and not food. That's what I thought would happen. But again, my brother, who's not a reader, pointed it out. And I'm not saying that he's illiterate. I guess the way I'm describing that, he doesn't read books. So what I mean by that is I didn't think that I would still have his attention, that he'd be reading that closely by page 80. That's what I'm saying. Although maybe he is illiterate. I don't know. So send me an email. Would you keep the typo in circulation for your first book that you're about to release? Or would you say, I don't care what it costs, I need perfection on my first title? Again, live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Big Brother Canada is back on global TV in just a few short days, and you might recall last season they had a bit of trouble, right? There was that whole racism scandal, and people were calling for a boycott of the show after the man of color was kicked off the show, but the white guy stayed on. Well, that had all hell broke loose with people. And then the show was actually canceled mid-season because Corona struck. Now, a bunch of crew members actually quit the show because they were still being forced to work in close quarters. Meanwhile, the rest of the province, the rest of Ontario, was all but shutting down, trying to stop the spread of this new virus that had just come about last year. So Big Brother Canada had a really dreadful season last year. They vowed to rectify the whole racism problem by now having a very, very, very multiracial cast. So if you're expecting it to be the pretty buff people as it usually is, you know, from central casting as they call it, it's not that this upcoming season. Now, host Arisa Cox was doing a press tour just a few days ago, and we were part of that. Now, Arisa has been on our syndicated radio shows, I would say 6 or 7 times. She's a friend to the show. We generally talk with her at the beginning, so during season premiere or season finale. Well, this year was season premiere. And the publicist at Global TV had said, yeah, we can arrange a time. And I said, perfect. And then they said, all right, well, we'll send you the Zoom information. And I had replied to Cassandra Chambers and said, well, it's got to be a phone call. We're doing radio, so it's a phone line that goes into a soundboard, and I don't do this Zoom thing. And they said, well, it's really easy, just get Zoom. And I said, nah, it still has to be a phone call. So they asked for our celebrity phone line, even though let's say Arisa Cox is a quote-unquote celebrity. So I gave the 800 number that Arisa has called into many times before. And there was something about that response where I was just kind of like, I don't think this is going to happen. I just have this feeling we're going to be canceled. Well, sure as shit, everybody. The next morning, you wake up, you fire up the email. Global TV is canceling because something came up. Quote unquote, something came up. Fishy, I said, great, let's reschedule. They said there's no rescheduling. Weird. So it stands to reason that if something comes up, that the press tour then would be canceled, right? They wouldn't just cancel one person in the middle of the press tour, would they? Right? If the press tour is happening between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., something didn't just come up at 2:50 p.m. for 10 minutes, right? And then why not just add that 10 minutes onto the, just to have that person go at 4 o'clock or 4:10 or something like that. So we zoomed in to find that the press event was still happening. So we were just uninvited. And basically, it was because we asked for it to be a phone call. So Princess Arisa Cox, host of Big Brother Canada on Global TV, can't dial a phone this season. Now, I should point out that Arisa was elevated to executive producer status, so maybe dialing is beneath her, darling, but still. And then I decided to escalate this to the PR management because I thought, I don't know who this Cassandra Chambers is. I don't know, what's the deal here? Manager comes back and says, well, because of Corona, everything is by Zoom now. The pandemic has really thrown things off. What the hell does that mean? What does the pandemic or Corona have from Arisa Cox, host of Big Brother Canada on Global TV, dialing a phone number? What the fuck does that matter, ladies and gentlemen? Is that not the stupidest reason? Is it? Because we asked her to dial a phone. She doesn't even have to dial, because do you know what happens is a publicist will call into the line, they'll say, hold on, let me get her. They dial her, conference you in. Or they could even, if they're going to be in the same room as her, whatever it is, dial the phone and fucking hand her the phone. No. So Arisa Cox, host of Big Brother Canada on Global TV, at least this season, is dead to our syndicated radio shows, our podcast, and our entertainment segments that you hear on morning shows in several different cities. So isn't that disgusting? That is phone discrimination. So again, Big Brother Canada is the one that's the racist show and forces the crew to work during Corona outbreaks. Let's see if they can redeem themselves this season, everybody. I'll be back right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. Live at jbonair.com is the email address. Live at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,